Last week when I talked to you and the class was over, you came up to me and said, what was the second fear? And the sixth fear, you left them out, Jack, and it was true, I did. I was rushing to get through because of the time limitation. And the second fear was the fear of criticism, fear of what people will say or think about us. And you and I have had some wonderful teachers of fear in our lives, haven't we? Well-intentioned persons who loved us, but who said some things to us when we were small, criticized us. And as a result, we developed an intense fear of criticism. What will people think? What will they think? It really doesn't matter what they think. The problem is not what other people think about us. The problem is what we think about what they think. We think they're thinking about us. I have some wonderful news for you. They're thinking that we're thinking it about them. The sixth fear is the fear of the loss of liberty. That is the fear that causes us to be afraid of the loss of our freedom, the loss of our job. It's the loss of the good that we have accumulated. The prophet Gibran said, it is the fear of loss that is the greatest fear. The fear that cannot be conquered except by the surrendering of that fear. No matter how much you have, no matter how much you accumulate, the fear of loss will only grow as long as it exists. The people who have nothing fear that they will lose it. And the people who have much fear that they will lose it. And one of the great things that happens to us when we begin to practice this system or science of success is that our fears begin to disappear, particularly, as I pointed out to you last week, when we begin to believe in an infinite intelligence, come to really experience that there is a power working in and through and for us all the time in all matters. And one of the great truths that we come to understand is that you simply cannot lose your good. If you do, it was not your good at all, and that, for example, the principle that contained within every failure is the seed of an equal or greater good. And so therefore, suppose you do fail. Suppose you do lose. The moment that you do, you win. Something greater, something better. And the fear of loss ultimately leaves us when we begin to understand the truth that sets us free and practice that truth in all of our affairs. We're dealing with a success system. And just for a moment, I would like to define for us what a system is. It's a group of interacting, interrelated, or interdependent elements forming or regarded as forming a collective entity. We have a body, which is a collection of systems. We're familiar with the different systems of the body. And if one of our systems is having difficulty, then we've got a problem, and we go to see the professionals to help us correct that problem with one of the functioning systems of our physical body. Do you know that most of us have not really thought in terms of having a mental body or a psychological body? Our physical body is already fully formed, and, you know, it does pretty good most of the time, doesn't it? Do you know that your psychological body is one that must be formed by you, or certainly perfected by you? And we have not spent enough time perfecting that psychological system or body, which is a group of interacting, interrelated, or interdependent elements forming or regarded as forming a collective entity. And in the case of this system of success that we're working on, it would be a collection of principles that, working together, causes things to happen that could not possibly happen otherwise. And tonight's lesson, I'll be dealing with 3 principles. The first one will be that of a pleasing personality, how to develop a pleasing personality. Perhaps first, maybe just to come to understand what the ingredients of a pleasing personality are. Did you think a personality is something that a person is born with? No. Your personality is not permanent. It is not exact. It is something that begins to develop at a certain point in our young life as we unfold. And for most of us, the development of that personality sort of comes in a hodgepodge. We don't work at it. We do not intelligently proceed to put together a personality that is all or even what that it should be. So, let's check our personalities out. Would you like to do that? Would you like to run through a little test to see just what kind of personality that you have? Okay. Now, the first of the several factors in your pleasing personality that I want to bring to your attention is that of a positive mental attitude. And since we're going to be talking about a positive mental attitude as our third principle tonight, I won't spend very much time with this facet of our personality except to say that it is one of the most important assets, or in the case of a negative personality, liabilities that it's possible for a human being living on this planet to have. When a person walks in a room, that room changes by virtue of the quality of the personality of the person entering the room. But let me tell you something else. Every room, every building, every place that people gather has a collective personality. Did you know that? Based on the sum total of all the people who regularly gather in that place. It's amazing when we begin to discover that not only do people, but that places have personalities based on what happens when people gather there. Someone with a strong negative personality could walk into the midst of the more than 1,000 of us gathered here this evening. The chances are that you would feel it, particularly if it was negative enough, so negative that they wanted you to feel it. It would impinge itself upon us. You understand that? Oh, that is true. Then can you not see that you are a walking attitude? And that everywhere that you go, your attitude attracts or repels. It causes things like unto it to be drawn to you, or it repels things unlike it away from you. And so we draw to us our good, or repel that good, based on the quality of our personality. So do you have a positive mental attitude all the time? What about flexibility of the mind? And flexibility of the mind consists of the ability to adapt quickly to changing circumstances without losing your sense of composure. Check yourself out. You're driving across 8 Mile Road, and you're in a hurry to get where you want to go, and the gate drops down, and traffic stops. You're the second car. And you know that if the other guy had not been so slow, that both of you could have gotten through before the train came. Flexibility of the mind. Are you able to maintain your composure? Put your car in neutral. Spend a few minutes in meditation. The next quality is sincerity of purpose. And sincerity means not feigned or affected. It comes from a Latin word meaning clean, pure, genuine. Well, Sincerity is one of those qualities for which there is no substitute. There has never been a substitute for sincerity. And when a person has this almost indefinable but always tangible quality of sincerity, you know it and you feel it. You trust them. Sincere people. Are you sincere? Genuinely? Promptness of decision. All successful people make quick decisions. No exceptions. I don't mean that from time to time they don't have to pause and weigh or evaluate, but generally their decisions are just like that. Check yourself out the next time you're in the restaurant. The waitress comes by. How long will it take you to make your choice? Think about it. Common courtesy. Courtesy is the reflection of the spirit of fellowship without which one may never collect a group of dependable friends. Just courtesy is being nice. It's having the sweetness of the mind and of the spirit. And what about being tactful? Are you tactful? Tactful means having the sense of touch in terms of mental and emotional things. It's the ability to appreciate the delicacy of a situation and to practice diplomacy. Tactfulness is very important. And what about a pleasing tone of voice? I called a number and the voice answered, said, "Well." Wasn't very pleasing. I thought, gosh, I've got the wrong number. Found out I didn't. It was the right number. It was the wrong tone of voice. Do you know what your voice conveys to the world? Most people do not hear their own voice. Listen to your voice. Make a tape of your voice. Hear yourself speaking. Is it pleasing, gentle, melodious? If it isn't, practice it. And hear yourself when you answer the phone and see if you're pouring through the tone of your voice the quality of feeling that is in your heart. And connected with the tone of the voice is the facial expression and the habit of smiling. Oh, your smile, or lack of it, tells the world where you are inside yourself. I will never forget the smiling face of a young woman that I saw on Peachtree Street in Atlanta, Georgia, many years ago. Her glorious smile. I thought, golly, he proposed just moments before. Something wonderful had happened to her. And she was conveying it to the world. I've often thought of her and wondered if she could and has maintained that glorious smile. It can. It's important. Practice smiling. Just let the sun in you shine. And the facial expression. How you present your feelings to the world. And, of course, tolerance. What about the quality of tolerance? Are you a tolerant person? An intolerant person has fixed opinions on almost every subject. Their mind is already made up. You cannot tell an intolerant person something. They know it. And even as you begin to speak, they're beginning to interrupt. Or at least waiting for their turn to speak. They cannot hear. How can they hear? All that they hear is that you do not understand what they know. The intolerant person is one who truly separates themselves from the rest of the world. It stops the growth of the mind of that person because it limits their search for knowledge. How can you grow if you know everything, about everything? Tolerance. frankness in manner and speech, which really means openness. This does not mean the kind of honesty that says, well, I'm so honest, I'm going to just lay it all right out on the table, sweetheart. That's not honesty. But openness of mind that is willing to examine and to speak and to deal directly. No subterfuge. What about a keen sense of humor? A number of years ago, when I came into this way of thinking, there was nothing funny on this planet. I want you to know that. There was nothing funny. And if the funniest comedian who ever lived told the funniest joke that was ever told, I would have had to have followed your cue when the place came to laugh. I had no sense of humor. I had a sense of tragedy and a sense of inner involvement. All arrows pointed toward me. Do you understand what I'm talking about? And then I saw how absolutely ridiculous that was. And I finally got to the place that I could laugh at myself. Got to the place that I just fell out of my chair laughing at myself. You know that we really are rather strange. And if you don't know that, take a good look at yourself. And in that moment of seeing the humor, take the sense of tragedy out of whatever it is that's happening, the sense of seriousness out of it. You want to solve a problem? Take one step back and 2 steps sideways and look at it from a different angle and smile. And you're halfway to the point of solving it. The moment you stop being so serious about it, there will be a new perspective that will open up. But this type of personality is one that people love. Faith in infinite intelligence is a faculty of the personality of the mind that opens the master gate through which we walk into a whole new dimension of life, a dimension of life in which we begin to understand that there are no tragedies and that all things are always working together for our good. There is an intelligence that is there. You'll find that person finds themselves at the right place at the right time, having the experience that they need to have. And a keen sense of justice, which really means intentional honesty. I'll tell you how you can check yourself out on a keen sense of justice. The next time you're at the cash register and she gives you back more than you had coming, see how long it takes you to decide to return it. I know that you will do it, but see if there's any delay. Appropriateness of words. So important. Do you know that every word you speak conveys a message? The universe takes you at your word. Infinite intelligence responds to your word. Your word is an idea in capsule form. It's an encapsulated concept. And in the sense of speaking words, you cannot joke. Oh, yes, you can have a sense of humor, but what I mean is that when you speak words, they go out into life, and they're like seeds that fall in the mind of God, and in time they sprout and they come back to us as their own progeny. Your words will come back and paper your walls with themselves in the form of what that word is. Never speak ever again, as long as you live, a word that you do not mean and a word that is not consistent with what has now become your belief system. Do not speak a word unless that word conveys the quality of the sweetness of your spirit, your positive mental attitude. So let your words be not only appropriate for the occasion, but appropriate in the sense of truly speaking for you. And when it comes to speaking words, most people are afraid to stand on their feet and speak. The 8th fear that I did not mention, which is stronger than the fear of death, is the fear of what? Public speaking. There are some people who would rather die than stand here and speak. But you will have the opportunity. And all of us find ourselves in moments when we are talking to others around us. How do you speak effectively? Speak from your feelings. Speak about what is important to you. Do not speak against other persons or things. Speak for the values that are in your heart. When you tell people what's important to you, how you feel, and how you have experienced, your speech is very effective. Speak with your emotions, and then become still and watch the response. And speaking of emotions, the control of the emotions is one of the great qualities of a person with a pleasing personality, someone who has a positive mental attitude and therefore is controlling how they feel. They determine their responses to life. And the next quality is alertness of interest. The ability to take a keen interest in one's major purpose in life, but it's also the ability to focus your mind on any desired subject. To be able to fix your interest at will and to keep it there as long as you need to keep it there. Totally concentrating on a subject, and then when its time has run its course, then another subject. Very important to success and happiness and a positive mental attitude. Versatility. And the person with the versatility of mind has a general interest in things and people, a flexible personality. Someone who is just not locked into to a few things, a few ideas, a few concepts, but someone who is always interested and open and can say, "Did you see that? Wasn't that wonderful?" To be able to touch a blade of grass or a new twig in the spring, or to find some new quality. Friend. What about fondness of people? You like people? Really? All the world loves a lover. And I'm not talking about that kind. I'm talking about the person who likes other people. Intuitively, we know them when we see them, don't we? We know who likes us and who doesn't. There was a survey that was conducted in a college classroom not long ago, and I wish I had the figures with me, but they were significant. Members of the class were given 30 seconds to write out the number of people that they disliked, and I think the winner wrote out the names of 16 people in 30 seconds. And second place was 15 or 14, and several were in third and fourth place, very close to that number. There were one or two people that couldn't find anybody they disliked in 30 seconds. Now, later, they turned the test around. And would you believe that the people who had written the most names were the most disliked in turn? Are you following my drift, friends? If we don't become fond of people, they will not become fond of us. You cannot have a pleasing personality. You cannot achieve the goals, the dreams, the desires of your heart unless you have a fondness for people, because we're dealing with them all the time. We are they. Control of temper, you know how important that is. And anger is the insanity of the emotions. It's possible to be intellectually brilliant and emotionally insane in the same fraction of a second. Except that when it comes to our temper, how we protect it. I'm not talking about controlling the temper from the standpoint of sublimating it or pushing it down. Anger is a choice that we originally made, and it's coming to unchoose anger as a choice. And what about hope and ambition? People with hope and ambition have pleasing personalities. You know that people will forgive us for almost anything that we have ever done or failed to do, but they will not forgive us if we have given up hope. Did you know that? In time, people cannot stand us if we don't have hope. for ambition. They want us to be filled with hope. And so let your hope just vibrate. Don't be ashamed to be ambitious. I'm not talking about ambitious at the expense of other people, but that excitement that lights your fire, because it's your fire that lights the flame of another person's candle. And temperance, which is management of personal habits, particularly eating and drinking and matters of sexual relationship. To really be successful, a person must gain control over these responses in themselves. And patience, it really means not grouchy or irritable or disagreeable. You know, sitting at the, while the train is passing, patiently, not counting the cars and saying, that's the longest cotton-picking train I ever saw. Patience, what difference does it make? You're going to get there, aren't you? Smiling sweetly. And the world will love you for it. Humility of the heart, which means not arrogant or greedy or vain. And appropriateness of dress is very important. Good taste in how one looks. And good taste does not mean dressing like another person dresses necessarily, but it means if you're applying for a job at IBM, don't wear a bunch of chains. That is not appropriate. And your application, I promise you, will not go beyond the receptionist's desk. Look good and clothe your body appropriately, just like we were talking about clothing our minds in an appropriate manner. Effective showmanship means the ability to dramatize circumstances and situations without offense to other people. There's a little showman in each one of us, and it's not to be flamboyant, but it's just to put things in a perspective that's pleasing. And clean sportsmanship means one who has the ability to accept victory and defeat graciously. Someone that lets the chips fall where they may. And how about the ability to shake hands properly? You know what properly means? It means don't bend their ring. To show them you have got a grip. Because your handshake is really an extension of your personality. You're saying to that person, I'm really glad to see you. I'm so glad you're here. And if you meet someone and say, I'm glad to meet you, be glad. Be glad. Let your handshake show it. Let them feel your presence, the warmth of you. To know that you care. They will know that you care. You cannot fake what you present to the world. And personal magnetism, if you will read the great book Think and Grow Rich, you'll come to understand this great concept more completely. It deals with the sex energy. I'm not talking about the sex energy as it applies to the sex act. I'm talking about that all of us have. We are sexual beings. And we're not fully alive unless all of us, unless that part of us is alive and begins to express itself. And Think and Grow Rich very clearly tells us how to sublimate, how to transmute that sex energy into a kind of personal magnetism that draws all people to us. Comes from our feeling nature. How did you check out with your pleasing personality? Pretty good? Great. As I address these points, did you find one or two along the way that you might think needs a little attention as you go along? Did you mark it down? Did you make a note to work on it? The next 24 hours? You'll have ample opportunity in the next 24 hours to do some mighty work. The second principle I want to talk about tonight is personal initiative. And it's important for us to remember that the American people as a whole are well known for their habit of moving from their own personal initiative. That's why America is so successful. And there's a reason for it, I suppose, that so many of the people who came to inhabit this great land were people who made a personal choice, and they came here swimming upstream against hardships. They were not sent. They chose. They decided. Let me define initiative to you from the dictionary. The power, the ability, or instinct to begin or follow through with a plan or task. It means enterprise and determination. It's the first step or action. It's the opening move. It's the active role. It means to take the initiative. It means the ability to seize life. I had a friend from Denver that sent me just a note this week and said, grab life by the leg and bite it. I like that. You and I have the ability to decide what we're going to do and then to do it, to take the initiative. There are two types of people, according to Napoleon Hill, who never amount to anything. One is the person who never does anything except that which he is told to do. And the other person is the one who never does more than he is told to do. And they usually turn out to be the same person. Most of us just do what has been assigned to us. Kind of. Except it becomes boring and we don't even do that anymore. The person with personal initiative is someone who is always there, going beyond. This is the principle that is the closest to going the second mile. It's always seeing what needs to be done, but also having the ability to decide more than that and to go beyond that point. It's the capacity to have an idea come into your mind, inspiration, and to act upon that inspiration. Powerful, powerful. And it's very important that we connect personal initiative with our definite major purpose so that we can follow through with a definite plan of action for the attainment of that definite major purpose. Let me tell you a story that I think will sum up very succinctly the two principles that I've been sharing with you. He was born in Columbus, Ohio in 1890. He was the third of 8 children. At 11 years of age, he quit school to help with the family expenses, and he got his first full-time job at $3.50 a week. At 15, he became interested in automobiles and went to work in a garage at $4.50 a week. He knew that he would never get anywhere without more schooling, and so he subscribed to a correspondence home study course on automobiles. And night after night, following long days at the garage, he worked on the kitchen table by the light of a kerosene lamp. His next step was already planned in his mind. Did you hear that? He had a definite major purpose, a plan that came into his mind, and it was a job with the Freyer Miller Automobile Company of Columbus, Ohio. And one day when he felt ready, when he had studied enough, he walked into the plant, and Lee Freyer, one of the owners, was bent over the hood of a car. And this 15-year-old boy waited patiently. And finally, Freyer noticed him and said, "Well, what do you want?" "I just thought I'd tell you I'm coming to work here tomorrow morning." "Who? You are? Who hired you?" "Nobody yet, but I'll be on the job in the morning, and if I'm not worth anything, you can fire me." Early the next morning, the young man returned to the garage, and Freyer was not yet there, but that kid noticed that the floor was thick with metal shavings and accumulated dirt and grease, and he got a broom and a shovel and set to work cleaning the place. And some 30 minutes later, when Freyer arrived, for the first time in months, that floor was clean, and of course the boy got the job, and his future was determined by the quality of his personality and of his mind. His intuitive ability to practice these success principles was already inherent in him and working. It did not come because somebody sent him there to that place or caused him to dream his dreams or to encapsulate them as goals, as a definite major purpose. His future was predictable. He went on to a national reputation as a racing car driver, an automotive expert. In World War I, he was America's leading flying ace, Captain Eddie Rickenbacker. He was personally credited with 69 victories in World War I. Isn't that amazing? And he later founded Eastern Airlines. You may recall the story in World War II when he was on a special assignment for the president in the Pacific. His plane went down along, and there were a number of people with him in a life raft for 3 weeks. And he told his story in a book that was called Seven Came Through. And in that story, there were a number of many miracles that happened. The rain that came just in time, the flying fish that flew into the raft, the seagull that landed, they caught it by its leg. But you see, Eddie Rickenbacker had, as long as he lived, an intense faith in an infinite intelligence. He knew that he was merely the channel. But he also knew that it was important for him to practice these principles, and he developed over a period of time a success system that never failed him. It's that same system, those very same principles that I'm sharing with you here this evening. And now, the third principle that I want us to think about is that of a positive mental attitude, and it's so important. It's this one principle that comprises some of the ideas of all of the others, and it is the one of the 17 principles that links together the other 16 in an unbreakable chain. As a matter of fact, it is exceedingly difficult, if not impossible, to practice the other 16 unless one develops a positive mental attitude. A positive mental attitude. And just as a pleasing personality is not something that we attain by virtue of being born of our parents, a positive mental attitude is also a state of mind that must be developed by each of us, something that must be worked at. And like most things that we are required to acquire, we will not make the effort unless we know that there are very definite reasons why we should, and that there are very definite penalties that will accrue to us if we don't. Would you like to hear what the reasons are that we should develop a positive mental attitude? Let me tell you what they are, and let me define it in this way. At the time of our birth, each human being brings with him or her the equivalent of 2 sealed envelopes in which appear a list of the riches that he or she may enjoy by taking possession of his or her own mind and using that mind for the attainment of the things that he or she desires in life. And there's also, on the second envelope, that includes a list of the penalties which nature will exact from us if we neglect to recognize how important it is to take charge of our own mind power. Now, it's important to remember that nature discourages and severely penalizes us for 2 things. One is that when we attempt to create a vacuum, the universe abhors a vacuum. It's always filling with vacuum. And if we do not take charge of our mind, then our mind will be filled by things, by thoughts, by moods, and by attitudes. Your mind will be filled, I promise you, with all of the things that you would rather not have there. That is a promise. It's even a threat. It will happen. If I do not decide the contents of my mind, then life will decide the contents of my mind. So it's very important. The second thing that we're penalized for is idleness. This is an active universe. It's an action universe, and we cannot be idle. There will never be a time that we cannot grow, that we cannot be caught up in the process of growing and changing and becoming. Oh, there's a season of rest, a day, a time. pausing here and there. But then we must be off again in this quest for understanding and for growth. Now, a positive mental attitude means that success attracts more success. But the fact that nature abhors a vacuum also means that failure attracts more failure. If we don't decide what it is that we're attracting, then we will attract that which we have not decided upon. I hope I'm making my point there. There are a number of scriptures, for example, that point out to us that, let me give you one. The master teacher was talking to his disciples, and he was using hard-to-understand illustrations. They said he was using parables. And he said to them, "For to him who has will more be given, and he will have great plenty. But from him who has not, even the little that he has will be taken away." Does that sound unfair? It really isn't. The person who is conditioned for success will have more success, and more success, and the more success that you have, the more success that you have. It's also true that the person who has more failure will have more failure, and the more failure that you have, the more failure that you have. Do you believe that that's a principle? Of course you do, because you've experienced it. And so it's very important then to develop a positive mental attitude, because these are the rewards. The privilege of placing yourself on the success beam, which attracts only the circumstances which make for success or sound health and of both body and mind. Financial independence, a labor of love in which to express yourself. With a positive mental attitude, you will ultimately be doing the thing that you love to do. With a negative attitude, you will never like what you're doing, and therefore as you move forward into the series of changes that will always take place, you will dislike each succeeding thing that you do less than you did the last thing. Remember the story when the man who changed his location moved to a different city, and he met a Quaker there, and he said to the Quaker, "How are the people here in this town? Will I like it here?" The Quaker said to him, "How are the people in the town that you left? Did you like it there? You will find us the same." A positive mental attitude means that we will find our good wherever it is that we are, and we'll have peace of mind. We will have that sense of applied faith which makes fear impossible. We will always have enduring friendships, longevity, many years, as well as a balanced life, immunity against all forms of self-limitation, and the wisdom with which to understand yourself and other persons. What are the penalties? Shall I share them with you, the penalties of a negative mental attitude? I think I will. Poverty and misery all your life. Mental and physical ailments of many kinds, self-limitations which bind you to mediocrity, fear in all of its destructive forms, dislike of the occupation by which you earn a living, many enemies, few friends, every brand of worry known to mankind, a victim of every negative influence you encounter. A person with a negative mental attitude is always controlled by circumstances, conditions, the weather, the economy, what someone said, what they did not say. Always controlled. Subject to the influence and control of other people at their will. A wasted life which gives nothing to the betterment of mankind. Surely we do not wish to spend our days here upon this glorious planet. One day stepping forth into another grand and glorious experience, but looking back, seeing that while we were here, that we did not cause this earth to be a better place. While we were here. Remember when we were making our commitment to our definite major purpose, remember? Remember Lloyd C. Douglas' great book, The Magnificent Obsession. The glorious obsession to have every day a better day because I'm in it. Every place that I am a better place because I am there. Every person's life touched, enhanced, to have them inspired, encouraged, because they touched my mind for a moment. It is only possible to achieve that goal in one way, and that is to make an unrelenting, undeviating decision to develop at all costs a positive mental attitude that never wanes, that always is. It is yours for the asking. It is yours for the deciding. It is yours. Why is it yours? Because the Spirit that is in you, your other self, your higher self, is that self. I'm recommitting myself in this moment that for all of the days that I live here with you, this glorious place, I will have a positive, loving, caring, joyously grateful, appreciative outlook toward my life. Will you join me? I don't care what happens. Will you join me? If you will, indicate that you will by nodding your head. And for you, that's the way it really is. God bless.
This program is continued on the opposite side.